So this one is connected, right?
It's connected, yeah.
Yeah. And you got my email about the
Yeah.
PDF of this one and all that?
Which one were you talking? Oh, okay.
Remember the text? If you want to send it out to people to share?
Just the copy of the...
Yeah.
Okay, so then what should I do? Do I need to
Everything starts with 3 dots.
Okay.
Right? And then you can save the whole thing or save, cut and paste.
That's the
There's
part I
multiple-
need to do because it may have
Other
previous
stuff.
material.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the part I need to figure out how to cut
Sure.
and paste.
Yeah.
So then I export it as a PDF file?
Correct. Yeah, or save
Okay.
as.
Save as.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is, you can do save as PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to export anymore.
Yeah, I think one day I would like to have a conversation with you on the phone.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I think especially the keyboard
Yeah,
inserts, that's very powerful, but
Very
I don't know how to use it.
sure. We have to
So-
do it when we are together and do it, might be
Yeah,
more.
that would be good to do. Okay.
Sure.
It's 9:30.
So once it starts, then
Are you good? So no,
9:30, we should start.
Yeah. The TV is breaking.
You can see both the board as well as, okay, good. Okay, shall we start? We'll start with a prayer. Just do just the Sahana Vavatu because they're people from both classes. They have not learned the full set of prayers. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's do a chant. I'll chant Om Namah Shivaya twice, and then you can follow after me. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om. So, welcome to today's special class. And the topic for today's class, I just made some notes last night, would be so the topic would be understanding Isvara, understanding God. So it's an interesting thing that we are doing this because normally we have conversations with people. Sometimes we were on social occasions, sometimes even glass of wine in our hand when they're, you meet some people and so there is a discussion about, do you believe in God? And you might actually also start it, or doesn't matter who starts it, but there is a conversation about, do you believe in God? And usually it is done by people that don't believe in God because they want more company. They want some more people that can agree with them, and so they can instigate this. So here's the conversation. I remember Swami Dayanandji actually, this is from his talks long time ago. And so he would say, do you believe in God? And so you say, and if you do believe in God, then you don't want to flaunt it. So you say, yeah, something like sheepishly. And the person says, well, I don't. So Swamiji says, instead of confronting the person, saying, you don't believe in God? What kind of a person? Not like that. What you should say is, what kind of God do you not believe in? This is a good way to start a dialogue. So the person says, there's so much terrorism going on, and there's this mass shooting of innocent people. I cannot believe that God would allow this. And so, this is the sort of conversation you could have with them. And then you can say, by the way you have sketched out God, I also don't believe in that particular person. I don't believe in that. And where it leads to, we don't know. If the person is of the right personality, they might say, well, what's your understanding? Then you can pursue it further. But not really confront the person. It's very similarly. Swamiji had, this is on the side, it is not the main topic, but it just reminds me that you can have a conversation with someone which says, like what are you studying? What are you studying? So you say, I'm taking some classes in Vedanta. Well, what is Vedanta? Well, this is to get to know yourself, what's going on, and so on and so forth. So he says, well, I don't need that. Person says, I don't need Vedanta. So this is again from Swami Dayanandji. He was saying, don't stop there. Don't say, okay, so you don't need Vedanta, okay, or everybody needs Vedanta or something like that. Don't do that. Just say, how are things in your life? So the person says, oh, I don't know, my job is not very good, my boss is just kind of like, okay, so how about your family? He says, well, the family is not perfect, they've got problems, my children are not studying as much as they want. So he says, continue talking about their problems. And then say, by the way, there is advice from Vedanta on all of those things. Anyway, the purpose of this detour and also the purpose of the conversation about do you believe in God is to be realistic in terms of what we are trying to do. And so really speaking, it is not a question of believing God or not believing God, but in understanding Isvara. So I'll use the word Isvara generally. And so it is not a question of belief, it's a question of understanding. So the Shastra gives us lots of pointers. And I think the way to look at these pointers, before we get into the details of it, is that for those of you that have been studying and those of you that have just been recently introduced, there are two things that we need to know about ourselves. And those two things are often mixed up. So as we have talked about in the Viveka, those two things need to be at least mentally separated. And the two things are a person and the personality. So there are two things. So like for example, when you are acting in a play, then your role is what you are doing, but you are a person separate from the role. So similarly, in our life also, the same thing is happening, but we don't really separate them. There is a person, and there is a personality. So in Sanskritam it is called Swarupam and Swabhavam. So Swarupam is the person and Swabhavam is the personality. And all of our problems, really speaking, in life are because we don't mentally separate them. We don't have to physically separate them. But inside we need to have an understanding of the basic differences between the person and the personality. And if we don't, then the person adopts the personality. In fact, the assessment of the person is the assessment of the personality, which is not correct. It is not correct. This is what we have to do. This is the teaching of Vedanta. This is where the confusion, the ignorance of the self, all of those kinds of things come about. So this being the case, now we have two entities that we should think about. So two entities means myself as a person and having a personality, and my creator, Isvara, who has a person and a personality. These are the two entities, both having these two segments. This is what we need to understand. And I'll give you the answer. I'll give you the answer, and then we have to figure out how to get to the answer. The answer is that the person that we are and the person that Isvara is one and the same. But the personalities are different. This is the answer. This is what we have to see. So, the person is the same. There has to be only one person who is Chaitanya Swarupa, who is awareful, who is never there as an object, only as a subject. Isvara also, when Isvara says I, it refers to the same consciousness as you and I when we say I am coming to the class, I. Is the same I as the Isvara. So the person is the same, but the roles are different. So in today's class, we are going to look at the personality of Isvara. When we study the person of ourselves, the self-knowledge means to be able to separate the person and the personality, and therefore to understand who is the person who is separate from the personality. That we don't know. So that is what we are studying. So we will not study the person of Isvara today in our class, but we will study at least the personality of Isvara. So that being the case, in the next hour or so, we will look into 5 important aspects of the personality of the Isvara. By understanding each one of them, they are also understanding, not believing, but in understanding, we get to know Isvara, and therefore, another question is, why should I bother about knowing the personality of the Isvara? It's a fair question. Really, we should ask that question. Really, what I'm interested in is how my behavior is, how I can, as we said earlier, separating the person from the personality. This is what I should be concerned about, and we are. We're not concerned about anybody else. We're concerned about what am I doing today? What should I be doing tomorrow? Where am I going? What are my plans? What's going to happen to me? Me. And for me to understand Ishvara's personality, and if he has any problems, his problems, it doesn't really, that's not true, because understanding the personality of the Ishvara also aids me in understanding my own personality. Those two are related. And in fact, the ultimate answer is that Isvara, as I said earlier, the person is the same. And so Isvara is not a separate person, as we will see in today's class also. It is really working in and through me also. I have to recognize Isvara as the one who is regulating my life, what the connection is. So the connection between Isvara and Jiva is important. It is not should not be dismissed as unrelated. That's the idea. Okay, so that being the case, let us now get into the 5 important personalities of Isvara, and those are given in various Upanishads. They are highlighted. So the Upanishads usually they highlight 1 or 2 things. They can talk about a lot of things of Isvara, but they highlight 1 or 2 things. And so these 5 personalities, aspects of the personalities, are highlighted from different Upanishads. and also very well done in the sixth verse of the Mandukya Upanishad that the morning class has gone over. The sixth, and I'll go into that in just a minute. So the Mandukya Upanishad, the sixth verse, actually is devoted to not all but many of these five aspects of the personality. So it's very well collected in that one verse, but it's there in all the Upanishads. So let's go into. So the first one, by the way, what I've done here is if you look at this 157, this one right here, in red, it refers to the verse number from Panchadashi, which I sent you a copy of. And we won't really spend a lot of time on the details of it, but I just wanted to give you a reference on where this is done. So Panchadashi, in the 6th chapter of Panchadashi, Swami Vidyaranya, who's the author, has highlighted these five aspects of the personality of Isvara at one place, and is very well done. The verses themselves are not explanatory. They require a lot of understanding. So therefore you need to have commentaries on it. And I'm very fortunate that Swami Maheshanandji in his Hindi commentary has really further clarified Panchadashi's elucidation of these five aspects of Ishvara. So it requires a lot of understanding, study, and so on and so forth. It just doesn't happen but let's make a start at least. So the first one, which is highlighted in the red, is that Ishvara is called a Mai or Mayin. Either one is fine, but Mai, which is a Sanskrit word. Mai means the one who has the power of Maya. One who has the power of Maya. And the power of Maya is a personality, not in the person. So with all of these, we are talking about personalities. We're not talking about the person. Really, the person is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, which is the same as you and I, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And we will actually look into that a little bit more in the meditation that we will do today. So I won't spend any time on that. That's the person. But Maya is part of the personality. So what that means is this. We are not stuck with our personality. The person is never completely stuck with the personality. So a very simple example of that, given often in the Shastra, a very beautiful example, is that of water. So the water has a power. And the power is fluidness. This is why you can just take things and then just pour it something. If this was completely solid, you won't be able to pour it. So the ability to be fluid is the personality of the water. The person of the water, even in that sense, is H2O. Two atoms of hydrogen, one atom of oxygen combined together in a unique form is called H2O, which is called water. That is a person. But it has the personality of fluidity, also has the personality of getting heated and cold, all those kinds of things. And also never disobeying gravity. It always flows down, it never goes up. All those kinds of things are the personality of water. Similarly to that, Maya is the personality of Isvara. And what is that what is that power? There is a power. This power is given in the Shveta Upanishad, which says, Mayastu prakritim vidyat mainastu maheshwara. And the power, this is just a reference. So this one is not in the Mandukya Upanishad, but again, and I think I'll follow Raj's suggestion that we will send it out as a PDF for you. So because I've taken rather detailed notes for today's class, because it's a complex class, and so I did that, and so I think you can just transpose this. And so this is from Shveta Upanishad. So we should understand what the power of Maya is. This is a very important thing to see, and we will be talking more in detail later on, but just to summarize it, the power of Maya means the ability to create an appearance without any truth. This is what Maya is all about. In fact, the very etymology of the word Maya incorporates this power. Ya ma sa maya. Ya ma means one which is not there, but sa maya, which appears to be there, is called Maya. This is a very beautiful thing to contemplate as the very essence of the creation of the whole universe. So the whole universe is really non-dual. That's the person. But the duality, the plurality, the problems can be communicated as an appearance. So what it means is that if you know the appearance as just an appearance, you're done. If you don't know it, it leads you into some kind of you're lost. I think in one of the classes I had mentioned this. It's interesting when we just very summarize because I have a lot to do. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Life should be seen as a three-dimensional puzzle that we are solving. Complex, three-dimensional. Very simple puzzles even a child can do. If you know some of the very simple puzzles, it only has 4 pieces. And it takes a 1-year-old, 2-year-old just a few minutes to put it together. Then it gets more complex. Finally, you have 100-piece puzzles. And then life is really a 3-dimensional puzzle. And if we can solve it, we are done. And so the Maya Shakti means an ability to create, and the creation of the appearance is done in the form of a lower form of reality. As we have seen, even in the last few classes, in the last class of Gita, we saw that really when you talk about mithya, mithya is a lower form of reality. Lower form of reality means an appearance. And perhaps the best example of appearance, we will be talking more about this, is the dream at night time. It is the ultimate play of Maya, where while you are dreaming, you don't know it's a dream. This is what we are studying in Mandukya in great detail. It looks real. So the ability to create an appearance that looks real is the real Shakti of Maya. So this is the first of the aspects of the personality of Isvara. Another way to look at it is a magician. So what a magician's main job is to create an appearance which is not true. Hypnosis is another one. And really up to this, I still don't know how the magicians do this, where they cut a woman in half and put her back together. And there was a very famous magician called P.C. Sarkar in India. When I was young, he was the main one. And what he would do, he would have a small jar of water, and every few minutes he would pour the water out of the jar into something else and put it back. And he must have poured about 15 jars out of just one jar. I have no idea how he does that. Really, honestly, to this point, this is exactly what we don't know how this works, but it works. It's a magic. So this is the first personality of Isvara. Let's go to, so now before we go to the second one, I just wanted to a reference for those of you who are students of the Mandukya Upanishad. I just wanted to remind you that the verse 6 says, Eshaha Sarveshwaraha, Eshaha Sarvagyaha, Eshaha Antaryami, Eshaha Yonihi, Sarvasya Prabhavapyayau hi Bhutanam. These are the personalities that we will now talk about. Okay, they're all given with the exception of the Maya, Mai, which is not there in this particular verse. All the other aspects are given in this. So number 2. So from now on we will follow the sequence that was given in the verse number 6. Sarveshwara. Sarveshwara. This is personality number 2. So, Ishvaraha, we call Ishvaraha or Sarveshwara. Sarvasya Ishvaraha is the same thing. It's very interesting. The word Ishvara, you see, unlike other languages where the word by itself doesn't mean anything, you just have to assign it, like the word God, G-O-D. I am not sure what the etymology of God is, but anyway, it is now accepted, and we all, when you say God, we know what it is. Not so in Sanskritam, not in Vedanta. Every word has an etymology that is very accurate. The word Ishvara has 2 portions. One is called Ish and one is called Varach. Ish means to be the controller, the so-called boss, one who is independent of what he creates. Everything else is controlled, but the Ish is the boss. The word boss also has a negative connotation. We think of it as our local boss. Boss really means one who is the creator, sustainer, controller, regulator. This is called Ish. And the second word, Varach, talks about totally. Here our acharyas say that each one of us are an Ishvara to a point. Like for example, if you have a spider in your home, you are an Ishvara with respect to the spider. How? Because you can decide whether I should kill it or not kill it. Should I take it out or not take it out? Some of these spiders are so big that you cannot easily take it out. Now if there are flies and so on things, I don't usually kill them because they're easily, I put a plastic cup on the window and I put a paper around it, then I take them out and leave them out. But a spider is very difficult to do. I finally, I do that once in a while. But generally I'll have to kill it. So I'm an Isvara with respect to the spider. I am not Isvara with respect to my wife. I have to listen to what she has to say. But Isvara is the total Isvara. We are relative Isvaras. This is what is called Varach Pratyaya. So for example, the word Bhaswara. Bhaswara means the sun, who's totally light. It's not like the moon, which is sometimes light, sometimes not. It is totally the source of light. Bhaswara. So Ishvara. And Sarvasya Ishvara means Sarveshvara. It's the same thing. So the question is, how? Let's analyze each one of them. So today we are just trying to understand. This is another thing that we should, I think that's going to come later on, but I'll just mention it since it comes to my mind. This is an important thing to see. So Vedanta doesn't say, the Vedas, the word of Vedas, the Vedanta, doesn't say, just trust us with what I'm saying. It doesn't say that. So follow this for a second. It says, please look into what I am saying. Now, this is the stuff of Shraddha, as we have talked about that already. So what it means is, first listen to me, Shastra says, and then examine it for your own benefit. Don't believe in it. Swami Dayananji also used to say that. He says, both extremes of students are not very effective. One set of students, of course, is the one who says, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm here just because of my brother and sister today, and I'm not going to come back again. So that is not a student. The other one is, he says, everything that this person says is just absolutely, I don't have to look into that. That is just equally bad. This is why in our Shastras, all of the texts, question answers are embedded in it. Even Bhagavad Gita, for example, Arjuna asks some question, Krishna answers it, then he asks some more question. You don't have to do that. It can just be a dialogue that you're watching. In the process, you get educated. So here anyway, so what is being talked about here is, Vedanta says, do not just trust me with the information. Start with it and then inquire further. So now this is pointing out another very important thing. Vedanta says that pure logic, I think I'm saying that somewhere. Oh, here, right here. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to skip over A. Since I touched on the topic number B, so I'm going to go to B first, then I'll go back to A. A is much more important, but B is a point. And this is pointed out in Panchadashi number 159, so the references are there. It's not just from me, this is all, I'm just verbalizing what the Shastra is saying. So it says, the second important point of Vedanta saying, don't just trust us, is this. Do not please rely on your own human, dry, separate logic. If you fail, I can figure it out. I can figure it out. Okay, figure it out. So what happens? Then you meet someone and you have a conversation. And the person says, again, the same question about believing God and so on. Can you believe, is there a possibility of God when there are so many problems happening? So much this, that, and so on and so forth. And you say, he's right. He's right. And you start thinking, I don't really have any idea of who God is. Why is it so much problems happening and so on? Can't he control this? Why does he have to go through such severe problems for people? Another one is that everything has a beginning. So the science is looking into the beginning of the whole universe. I cannot believe how much money is being spent. I cannot believe how many PhDs are being given. I remember my father used to say that. He said, why are they still affording PhD? I think we pretty much know everything, don't we? I think this is not necessary to give on. I think it's just a ruse. And he was in a way right. Because we don't need to have PhDs, but we do have PhDs. And there are more PhDs now, more things to be. Now this artificial intelligence. This is going to create new IPOs, new PhDs, and so on. Anyway, so the thinking is, the dry logic is, everything must have a beginning. And Vedanta, so this is dry logic. So Vedanta says, please do not go very far in it. You can dabble in it if you want to, but you're never going to get an answer. So therefore it says, please follow the logic that is suggested by me. So you cannot accept everything that Vedanta is saying. You still have to employ logic, but that logic should be a sensible logic. So I just made a reference here in this very beautiful text called Sadhana Panchakam. We took that long time ago and we might do it again. But in there, this says, in verse number 3, he says, Dustarkat suviramyatam Shrutimatatarkaha anusandhiyatam. So suviramyatam means, dustarka means a faulty logic. Don't go after faulty logic. Employ the logic, but in a very sensible way. Anyway, so that's number 2, not to be doubted. Now let's go back to number 1. So this is an important thing that we are going to repeat again. When you say Isvara is Sarveshwara, how do you mean? How is that possible? Well, this requires quite a bit of study, so we cannot really complete it, but I'll just mention it and just introduce it to you. What happens is, when we are asleep, fully asleep, each one of us, we are really one with Isvara. And that state of being one with Isvara is not totally one with Isvara, but almost one with Isvara. And that word is called Anandamaya. Anandamaya. It's not Ananda. So this is given in Taittiriya Upanishad, and we've studied that, the senior class has studied that. There is a distinction between Ananda, which is the purity of Ananda, and Anandamaya, which is as close as you can get without being it. And so now, what happens is, when you are asleep, when you and I are asleep, deep sleep, not the dream sleep, but the deep sleep, every night, we lose our individuality. And that is and we are one with Isvara. It's a little bit like all the ornaments are melted for a while and it becomes nothing but gold itself. So the very source of each one of us is Isvara. The very beingness of each one of us. And this, we don't know this. That's another thing. We don't know this. But the fact of the matter is that we are, this is what is called Pragyana Ghana. In Taittiriya we also studied this. And a reminder for those of you that may have forgotten. It's called Pragyana Ghana. Means a mass of Ananda with a heavy dose of I don't know. I don't know. Ajnana, Pragyana Ghana. This is called Anandamaya. So the person that keeps it. So one question is, where am I? Where am I in when I'm asleep? Where am I? Where am I? You're in the cloud of the universe. And in fact, this is exactly what happens when you and I die. Our body dies, so many pranas dies and so on. But our thoughts, our vasanas, our so on and so forth, are withdrawn into Isvara. So Isvara is really the very stuff, this is the one way to say that, the very stuff of the whole universe. And therefore the one who controls it, the one who regulates it, one who understands how to do this, all that is Isvara. And what I mentioned here is that then as soon as you wake up in the morning, the seed of your ignorance sprouts up. And the first thing that happens is Vijnanamaya. So Vijnanamaya means I am. And that I am is the beginning of individuality. Then comes Manomaya. What am I? Your thoughts, your memories, leftover things from yesterday, fears, plans for today, is Manomaya. And of course, surrounded by Pranamaya, which means your health, whether your body is functioning, where the pains are, whether you're breathing well, are you sick, and the fact that you are alive is all Pranamaya. And of course then the Annamaya, which is the outside body, problems, scratchingness, this, that or the other, is all Annamaya. Anyway, so this is the very source of it is really nothing but Ishvara, Sarveshvara. It's a very deep topic. I just have time for doing that. We've already done this. This is important. Is Sarveshwaraha because no one can alter the direction of the universe except Ishvara. You can make minor adjustments, you can decide to come to the class or not come to the class, you can decide to take a holiday, those kinds of they don't matter that much. And they matter to you and I, but in the conduct of the whole universe. Even when there's explosions in the universe, even when the sun dies, sunspots, even the macro one, nothing, it's very small. The overall direction is Ishvara. And one important thing as part of this thing is that what you are as a person, your status in life, your direction of life, and so on, is also not completely up to you. It is partially up to you. How is it not completely up to you? Because you and I are at a particular point in life. It's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. That's a good way to, it's like a tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is only like 5% above visible. below that there is a lot of unseen things that is propelling the iceberg. These unseen things are our tendencies, our vasanas, our samskaras, our background. You cannot suddenly become a different person. And in fact, the very thoughts that you have that make you what you are also sprouted from below, from the subconscious. And so really speaking, all of that is determined on a longer basis. And you can make some adjustments to it, but really you will be what you are. This point, by the way, we're going to get into a little bit later on, because it can trigger a question. If Isvara is doing everything, what is my role for it? So this is an important question. I'll come back to it. But right now, the thing is that the definition of Sarveshwara is that he is the very source of everything, not to be doubted. You can doubt it to your own disadvantage, and also to understand that really speaking, the Ishvara is the one that is responsible for the very direction and the course of the universe. So this is number 2. Let's go to number 3. We are at 10:21. Okay, I think we're doing okay. The third one is Sarvagyaha. And these two are related. Sarveshwaraha and Sarvagyaha are related. So they are slightly different, but they are not totally different. So Sarvagyaha means the knower of all. The knower of all. What it means is there is nothing that you and I are thinking about or doing that is unknown to Ishvara. Unknown to Ishvara. You and I don't know it. And this should not be seen as, oh my God, somebody's looking over my shoulder. Because really what you are doing is what Ishvara positioned you to do at this point in time. You are nothing but a product. Yeah, here. Yeah, this is the thing. So the vasanas means the samskaras, your tendencies, your position is all stored in the Maya Shakti. And it gets unmanifested at night time. So Maya in that sense is the cause. And your and my thoughts are the effects of it. They're not unrelated. They're not unrelated. So I just made a side comment here. It's called Vivartavada. So Vivartavada means, this is where what we talked about earlier about the fact, the appearance, the Maya Shakti having an appearance. So really speaking, the example of a rope and a snake should be kept in mind. So the rope does not convert itself to become a sarpa, a snake, a serpent. You imagine it to be. So the rope always remains as a rope, but it is taken as a sarpa. This is called Vivartavada. Again, this is a topic of great discussion and analysis. There are different kind of changes. And in fact, it's interesting, I can relate this to the earlier comment I made about the beginning of the universe. And which we did not completely discuss, but what Vedanta says is the universe never began. In fact, this will come up later on, so I'm going to defer this section until later on. So I won't go into that at this point. Anyway, just to complete the Vivartavada. Vivartavada means, like for example, supposing you have, this is the classical example that given, that you become yogurt, milk becomes yogurt. The milk becoming yogurt is called Parinamavada. Means that it has forever forsaken its quality as a milk and taken up a new quality of a yogurt. It's called Parinamavada. But the world transforming itself is not like that. It is Vivartavada. It is more like the rope being taken as to be a snake. There is no real change. There is no real change. There is no real creation. That we will come to that a little bit later on. Anyway, so we are still talking about Sarvagya. How can we say that? That means the very thoughts and tendencies are kept in the lap of Isvara. Because one can say, when you think that, you can even say that if I'm asleep, then I have my own memory. It's my storage is right here. This is kind of like a disk drive that keeps the memories until you're ready to wake up. But what about death? Because we have said that the death and sleep are very similar. Where is it kept? It is kept in the total cloud. Even the sleep is kept in the total cloud. And so this is what is called the very lap of Isvara. So in verse number 62, I think there is a word called Kodi Kritaha. Let me double check that. Number 61, sorry. In 161, 161, it talks about Kodi Kritaha. Kodi Kritaha means that it's kind of like, a child sleeping in the lap of the mother. Everything is kept in secure and protect in the lap. And so the mother knows that the child is asleep. And it makes, if the child is not asleep, you rock the child to sleep. But the mother is in charge of the whole thing. It's not as though she is not aware of it. So similarly here, the entire universe is in the lap of Isvara. And therefore the Isvara knows exactly what is going on. It is purely our lack of understanding. We have not inquired into it, and this is what the Shastra says. Please understand this is the way it is, and inquire into it if you want to. You should. So this is the topic of the number 3, which is Ishvaraha is Sarvagyaha. Sarvagyaha. Then comes the topic of Ishvaraha is Antaryami. Antaryami, number 4 out of the 5. Antaryami means, it has 2 words in it, Antaha and Yami. You can also call it, you can also have Bahiryami. So Yami means the one who makes it function. The laws of the universe. The laws of universe that are predictable, reliable, repeatable. So it's not as though, Swami Dayananda used to say that, it's not as though the water boils at 100 degrees centigrade today and at the same place it boils at 70 degrees tomorrow. That would be meaning that there is no rule. So sometimes it happens that Swami Maheshananji was talking about it, that one time they went to the Himalayas in some kind of a pilgrimage, so he had a lot of people with him. And so being vegetarians, so the only thing that they would cook is the lentil and rice, dal and chawal. These are the only two things that they would eat. And so whenever they would go, they would make a dal and just boil it and so on and so forth. So they went to this very high altitude, and the lentil is not boiling. Normally it should take like a half hour or so, and it's done with. So Swamiji was getting hungry, so he says, "Okay, is the food ready?" He says, "Sir, I'm sorry, it is not boiling." The reason is it was at 15,000 feet high. So the water does not boil because of the lack of pressure. But it is also predictable. They just didn't know. They had not counted for the extra time availability. The predictability of the whole universe is done by a yami. Yamayati iti. In Sanskritam it is called Yamayati. Yamayati means the one who provides the laws. And this is true for, this is a big topic, very big topic, where the laws means it is same for everyone. There is sweetness and there is sourness, there is bitterness, same for everyone. It's not a random thing. Another thing Swamiji used to say that, he says, it is not that some people like to be spoken softly and well. Some people are being told the truth. Other people like being slapped at. You may have different people, Another person might, if you insult that person, he might say, "Oh, that is wonderful. So happy you insulted me. I've been feeling this. No one has been insulting." So Swamiji used to say that. In fact, it was interesting. One of the last lectures, I don't know how the topic had come up, one of the last discourses that he gave at the ashram before he passed away was giving these examples. He says, there's a sense of satisfaction that comes from doing duties. And so if you don't perform your duties, then you have an unpleasant feeling which is designed by Isvara for everyone. It's not as though some people don't do duty. And he gave the example. He says, supposing you are supposed to do laundry of your clothes, and you haven't done it, you postponed it, and now you have to go somewhere and say, "Oops, I don't have something to wear." The feeling that why didn't I do it is universal. And if you do laundry in a normal, I remember his talk in the last minute. Anyway, so this is all called yami. Yami means the rules of the universe. Just look at it, how universal they are. Both the physical laws and the mental law. One of the interesting thing to see, I have not really, this is not Did I say that? Yeah. Okay, I'll come back then in just 1 second. So, we have talked about the carrot and stick approach. Not we have talked about, we know about it. Carrot and stick. So, Isvara uses both. And let us see how he uses the carrot approach. So before I describe that, Swami Maheshananji had given a very beautiful example. He said that suppose there is a businessman who owns a business. And the business has grown, you have now multiple locations. Because first of all, you had one location where you could manage everything. Now it has become so successful that now you've opened 2 or 3 locations. And now you have managers for each of the location. You cannot personally supervise each one of them. Imagine that situation. So Swami Maheshananji said there are 2 ways of instilling discipline in everyone. One way is through a stick. If you don't behave, I'm going to check the cash registers every day. If I find even the slightest one, I'm going to send you to police. Is that clear to everyone? And this is the carrot. This is the stick approach. The carrot approach is that you develop a culture within your business where people appreciate. And you don't really have to personally supervise every minute. This is the way things are done. And if you promote people on the basis. I tell you, I was very lucky to work for Hewlett Packard. And in fact, it's interesting. I worked 7 years with IBM as an engineer. And then I shifted over to HP. It's all Isvara's doing. How that happened, I won't go into the details of it. And I worked for 28 years with HP before I retired. And IBM was like the stick approach. And HP was the carrot approach. Really speaking, the ethicalness of Hewlett, Mr. Hewlett and Mr. Packard, the friendliness, the comfortable way of doing things was so endemic that we all behaved that way. It was like a one big family. Not so in IBM. There was always looking over your shoulder. There was more pressure on things and so on. So Isvara uses both of them. But very interesting thing. For the living beings, he uses the carrot approach. And for the non-living beings, he uses the stick approach. How? So the sun and the moon have to behave according to the order without questioning. This is why you can predict where the stars will be 1,000,000 years from now. You can tell exactly what is going to happen. So precise are the laws. Human beings, on the other hand, or any living being really for that matter, but much more human beings, because the other living beings just follow the order. A cat or a dog, as soon as their hunger is gone, they will stop eating. That's it. Not so for human beings. We should be stopping after a small filling when we are done, but no. We like it so much we overeat. Anyway, that's a separate thing. And how is the carrot approach used for the human beings? Anandamaya kosha. Ananda. We all follow the direction of what gives me happiness. It is automatically done. We all follow. We make mistakes doing that. Sometimes we behave unethically. But the following of Ananda is very natural. Very natural. So this is the yami, and this is called antaryami. Staying within you, it regulates your life. All by, he's outsourced the fact that Ananda is your own nature. You see, look at this beautiful thing. It's not as though when a child is born, the parents all have to say what to do, but they don't say be happy. Because the child knows, see, this is outsourcing the Ananda. The Isvara doesn't have to tell everybody. By the way, I just have to give you a lot of instructions in your life. Do this, do this. By the way, one of the things you should do is to discover what is Ananda and be it. It is outsourced to something which is inside of us altogether. This is how the internal regulation goes. You see? This is the antaryamitva. So in the Brahma Sutra, which is kind of like the ultimate text in Vedanta, where all these things are discussed in great depth, there are two sides that are brought up. I think we talked about it earlier also in one of the classes. So the two sides are kind of like two lawyers arguing in front of a Supreme Court judge. And once, so antaryami, so this is an actual segment from the Brahma Sutra. Antaryami means who is responsible for the well-being of the human being or all beings. Is it the human being or is it Isvara? And both argue. How can it be Isvara? I don't even know where Isvara is. I'm the one that has to decide what to do or where to go and so on and so forth. And the other one argues, that's what you think, my fellow. It's not true. And do you know who wins? Isvara is the antaryami wins. Why? Because, really speaking, even what I consider to be my thoughts are the thoughts that have been planted in me by Isvara through vasanas and samskaras. They say that, really speaking, when you are in taking the right direction, Isvara is pleased with you and makes your thoughts forward-looking. And he wants to give you problems. It's not as though he wants to give problems, but if you're giving yourself problems, it is because the course correction is necessary. This is how it happens. So anyway, this is called antaryami. This is number 5. And I'm almost close to my time. So I will, I think we have pretty much done all of this. I think I've covered that in one form or the other. Then one very interesting thing, which is part of the antaryamitvam, is this verse number 18 from the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter number 18, verse number 61, which is given in 171, reproduced exactly. It's a very, very famous and one we should really study. And this section, by the way, just on this verse, has been talked about in great detail by Panchadashi in a separate section, which we won't go today, but I'll just briefly mention it. It goes, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra arudhani mayaya. This is the verse. And it is very well explained by so many people. Very important verse. And it speaks directly to this antaryamitvam. What it says is, In fact, I'll just read you the English translation of this. O Arjuna, the Lord is seated in the hearts of all beings, whirling all beings by his Maya as if they are mounted on a machine. So this, and Swami Maheshananji had given this very example. I'll just point out one aspect of it. That's all the time that I have. And then I won't go to the last one then. So he says that consider a merry-go-round. And a merry-go-round which whirls around, and there are horses, etc., generally horses. And these horses are going up and down. Up meaning that you feel good. Down meaning you're not feeling good. And people buy tickets to get on the merry-go-round, especially children. Especially if they're very young children, you have to accompany them. And what happens is you mount a horse. So this is what is called yantra arudhani. Arudha means you mount it. How do we mount this in our life? This has to be seen. So what happens is that the world is there for you to transact with and to grow with and to enjoy. But it's kind of like, you can enjoy a merry-go-round without getting on it. And you can just saying, your own kids are also there, they're making noises and they are shrieking and you enjoy the whole thing. This can be done in your life, but we don't do it. Instead, we mount the horse. And actually, merry-go-round is not that bad, but if you look at some of these, what is it called? These roller coasters. Roller coasters. You feel, why did I do this? Why the heck? I remember that happened to me, my older granddaughter, when we went to Disneyland or something. She dared me. She says, Papa, please come. I said, no, I don't want to go. She says, come on, it's nothing. Worst decision of my life. So this is how we mount it. This is how we decide to mount it. And this is a very important thing to see. Again, I'm just going to give you a little seed of this and we will develop this in more detail separately. Mounting in our life means ahankara and mamakara. Ahankara means this limited body-mind complex is me. You have the option of being the Atma, which is all-pervasive, and just enjoying the life with that vision, but you don't. And it is done through ignorance, for whatever reason, that's a separate thing. What happens is that when you decide to divide the world between them and me, you mount the horse. And not only that, not only the ahankara, but mamakara. This is my family. This is my family. This is the reality of it. Everything else I don't care about. It doesn't matter. Here Swami Maheshananji had given a beautiful example. I remember reading this about a year or a year and a half back. Imagine. He said, imagine a story like this. You are a well-to-do householder. You have a house, you have a property, and this is more of an Indian scene, okay? When there are neighbors across and, close by and so on. So one day, and also the Indian one where their household help, the servants are involved, and so on. So one day, the uh, the servants of the house next door come to you and said, "Sir, we need your help." So this is not your neighbor, but the person who works for the, cleaning the home and so on and so forth. One of the employees, and said, "Sir, my daughter, who's 6-year-old, is very sick. And the doctors say that she can even die. And there needs to be a surgery performed, and I don't have the money. Can I please borrow?" I'm just going to everybody. "And then can I borrow 500 rupees from you? Because the surgery costs like 2,000. I need to borrow." So, so you are somewhat sympathetic, but you say, "What I have got to do with it? I cannot keep on giving money to everybody." So he says, "You know what? I'll give you 100 rupees. This is all I can do. You blindly go to some other people and collect it," and so on. So that's what you did. Come back 20 years later. In the meantime, your son, who was the same age as this, and she survived, she got her operation done, started playing together, we went to the same school, fell in love, and got married. Same girl. Okay? So now she's become your daughter-in-law. And one day your son says, "Dad, I'm at work, and my wife was telling me that she has a headache and she doesn't want to drive by herself. Can you say?" "So sure, of course. Where do you want me to go?" He says, "Just look at this. It's the same person that you could not give 100 rupees 20 years back. And now you are embracing her as she is just nothing at yourself. This is like mounting the horse." So now what happens is, when you mount the horse, then you are the subject of all the problems that occur in you and your family. Unlike the problems of others, right now as we speak, there are probably accidents happening. There are 9/11 calls being made, and some that may be visible to you also, but you don't care. You're free from it. It's not as though it's bad. You're free from it. You're free of the problems of dealing with other people. But if the news should come that your own son and a daughter are involved in an accident, oh my God, your life just completely collapses. This is called mounting the horse. And so this verse, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Arudhvani Mayaya. This is a false kind of a thing that allows you to create problems for yourself. All because you select some people as being yours. This is a topic that we will spend a lot of time on later on. Last one. This is something. This is an important thing. I don't want to miss. This is an important doubt I remember in the beginning. We said was, okay, I understand. Ishvara is the Sarveshwaraha. He is Sarvagyaha. He is Antaryami. You are telling me he does everything. So there is nothing for me to do. What am I supposed to do? And not only what am I supposed to do means that what role is there in life for me? You've taken away everything, and so on. So the answer from Vashastra is not so fast. No, that's not true. In the ultimate analysis, that is true, but we are not talking about ultimate analysis. There is a lot to do in the meantime. So the two main things, there's a two-part answer to this. Okay, this is an important thing. This is given also in no, I don't remember the exact. I think that perhaps this was given in some of the verses that come later on. I didn't give it to you, but anyway, this is the fact. One answer is, I should know the direction and not manually oppose it. In other words, if I were to try to meet the ocean that the river is flowing into, that's the example given, that the flow of a river is into the ocean is like giving up your individuality. And it's not a loss because you become part of a much larger water mass. So the flowing of the river into an ocean is a very beautiful thing. It comes out of the ocean, has some individuality, and goes back into the ocean. And this is really what we need to do. If I can be just as insulated from the problems of my own body, mind, and my own family as I am with respect to the others, I'm done. But how do I do that? The way to do that is to move in that direction. That means, in the example that I gave, not be overly concerned about our own body, mind, and our own family. There is some responsibility, no doubt about it. This is the duty. You cannot just say that, I don't care about my body. You have to feed it, but to be overly concerned about it needs to be reversed. And so the example is that you need to make sure that you are not swimming against the current. You are flowing with it. This is a relative thing. You haven't reached it yet, but at least you should start in the right direction. And we, because of being non-ethical, because of bad practices and so on, we are opposing it today, and we shouldn't. This is number one. The second one is, this is very important, what is the final word on this is that you are unconnected anyway. You are unconnected to your own body, mind. You're unconnected to your own family. You're unconnected to the world. Totally unconnected. This is what is really what we have to understand. This is what is called asangaha. Sangarahitaha. This is what we have to do. And for me to understand that it is possible, because normally the doubt is, how can I'm doing everything? I'm clenching my feet, I have my hands, and I'm talking and so on. This is me. The jiva is kind of like a dream. Whereas a dream character, I feel I'm doing this, I'm doing that, when in fact I'm not doing anything. When I wake up, I find that was just a false set of experiences. Asangaha. And for me to even understand how this is done, eventually I have to start now by admitting the possibility that I am asanga. Not involved, some acceptance of Isvara in my life. This is what the reason is. This is why the personality of Isvara is important for my study, is necessary, and it helps. Okay? I'm now really out of time, so I'll just go to the last one, which I'm not going to spend much time on, and this is somewhat obvious. So, Isvara as a yoni. Yonihi means a womb. And also Prabhavaha Apyayaha as the creation and the dissolution of myself. And therefore the entire universe. I'm just an example of the whole universe. Isvara is, we come out of Isvara and we go back to the Isvara. And the only thing I would like to just communicate in this short time is an important concept with respect to this area. And that is which I mentioned to you earlier about, remember, Shushka Tarka, the dry logic. There is no real beginning and no real end. I never really began. My body-mind complex began in this life. And it is very much like, this is, by the way, a central theme of the 6th chapter of Panchadashi, which is called Chitradeepa Prakaranam. And the centrality of the theme says, imagine a person who is selling some pictures. So these are prints. Supposing you have a person, not like our modern day, ones where everything is on the wall and you say, I like that one. I remember this one example. One of our distant relatives used to sell carpets in India and made a lot of money. He was very rich just because of selling carpets. And we used to look down upon him. What? He's an educated person. All he's doing is selling carpets. And one time he came and gave us a lecture. And he says, you know how I do? So what he used to do was, in those days, he could not even afford a car. So he would have a person drive a rickshaw and have small Persian carpets that are rolled up. And he would go to and knock on the door to someone and says, I've got I understand that you are friends with such and such, he would know. And I have a new shipment of Persian carpets. Can I show it to you? So the woman says, okay, come on over. So what he does now is asks his rickshaw driver to carry the carpet, unroll it. And then she looks at it and she says, no, this has got too much blue. I don't like blue. Do you have anything that has green in it? She says, sure. So what he does is now he asks the person to roll it back again, put it back and bring one with the green. This is the central theme of this chapter. He says, Isvara does the same thing. Can you say there was a beginning of the carpet? I mean, not the weaving of the carpet. It is very much like unrolling and rolling back. Unrolling and rolling back. This is what happens to us every night. We unroll ourselves, we roll ourselves where it is not visible. And then we unroll it, we become visible. It is manifestation and unmanifestation. Manifestation. And so this is the principle of yonihi, then prabhava apyaya. Isvara is the womb, is the mother of the whole universe. In a very interesting womb. There is no real birth. Why? Because the thoughts, etc., are rolled back into vasanas every night. And during death, those are rolled out in a new body. That's all that happens. There's never a time when we were not there And there is never a time we will not be there as a personality, but we will always be there as a person. So anyway, these are the 5 important personalities of Isvara that require inquiry and understanding. It's already 11 o'clock, and some reason the air conditioning has not been functioning. I wonder if there is a switch that we need to turn on, because normally we do anyway. It's getting a little warm. So I will do a short, see Larry, if you can. No?
Would have brought the temperature to a cooler, so perhaps fan should come on in a moment.
So it was a temperature issue?
I believe so, yeah. So it looks like from here.
Because every Saturday the air conditioning has been on, but today for some reason.
Yeah, because.
The 3 day.
3 day.
3 day, maybe.
Even Kerala is off today.
Okay. Well, I think for that reason also, and just for other, we're late. Huh?
I kept the door open.
Okay.
A bit of veg-
I do feel something.
I feel something. Yeah. It's coming.
Anyway, so what we will do, I think I was hoping to do a meditation that would incorporate many, if not all, of the points that I brought today, but I think it's just getting too late and we won't have time to do that. But let's do a short meditation, okay? Somewhat separate from this, but just since I promised it, I think I'd like to go through with it. Om Pratasmarami Hridisam Spuradaatmatattvam Satchit Sukham Paramahamsa Gatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptam Abaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamam Aham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. I meditate upon the discrimination viveka between myself, the Atma, as the reality, the truth, and anatma, not myself, as an appearance of the truth. In this analysis, I meditate upon the distinction between myself, the Atma, and myself as my body-mind complex called Ahankara or Jiva. Shastra says that the Atma is of the nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda, or Satyam Jnanam Anantam, same thing. I meditate upon seeing the truth about this statement. Anatma, which is my body-mind complex, also is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, but a reflection of myself as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. It is a lower form of Satyam Jnanam Anantam. I meditate upon this distinction in the following way. I meditate upon the distinction between Atma and Ahankara in the aspect of Satyam or Sat or isness or presence. What I find is that my thoughts are but my thoughts enjoy my reflected isness. Like a reflection in the mirror, it enjoys the reflection of the original. Similarly, my thoughts as though enjoy the borrowed isness, like a reflection borrows my image. It is borrowed isness, not its own isness. Similarly, my thoughts enjoy my borrowed isness. my thoughts and my body and all other aspects of the ahankara, anandamaya, vijnanamaya, manomaya, pranamaya, and annamaya, they are visible, but they borrow my existence of the Atma. Atma, on the other hand, does not enjoy any borrowed isness. The isness is its own swarupa. This is the distinction that I meditate on. I am not borrowed existence. How? And here both Sat and Chit can be done together. They are really the same thing. Satyam and Jnanam are the same thing. I always am. I am. I am. I am. I know. I know. I know. The thoughts do not have this quality because the isness and the knowingness is borrowed, it changes. Sometimes the thought is, sometimes it is not. If isness was the swarupa of my thoughts, it would always be like I am. But that's not true. So my meditation is in the form of Atma and Anatma Viveka. Without this inquiry and meditation, the Atma and Anatma appear to be one and the same. But with my skilled, subtle inquiry, I am able to separate the two. And the tool for this skill is to focus on whether the isness is borrowed or the very nature of the Atma. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So anyway, it was an introduction to the understanding of Isvara, and requires more detailed follow-up and analysis from your own mind. And so, really not a question of believing, it's a question of understanding. And a complete study of Shastra is available, and it all really depends upon our eligibility, our preparedness, our interest, and so it's all given. And at the end, you find that your life is much more complete, because right now it's missing some important parts, which enables us to just be totally focused on myself as an individual. But for me to grow, a complete understanding of all aspects are important. And so today I think we took a good stab at the understanding of our Creator, Isvara, and I hope that you can continue the inquiry in some form or the other. So with that I close, and then if there's any questions I'll be happy to answer that, otherwise we'll call it a day. Yes, Kalpana?
There is a sentence there which says vasanas cannot be cognized but can be inferred.
So yeah, Akshay actually sent me an email today saying that will you please repeat the questions from people before you answer it. So let me do that. Kalpana is asking that there was a sentence that vasanas, I forgot to look into that, that vasanas cannot be seen but they can be inferred. So can I please comment on it? Sure. So this should be seen. It is a very easy thing to see, but an important thing to see. So what happens is that if you look at the breakdown of things, like you take a shirt, what you find is that the shirt is just a nama-rupa, just a name and form, but the content of the shirt is the cloth. So the cloth becomes the very substance of the shirt. Then you find that the cloth itself is not a substance; it has some name and form. Cotton is the substance. So you substantiate it slowly. There comes a point where you can see the molecular structure of the cotton, which is visible. Then you enter the invisible boundary. Atoms cannot be visible, but we know that the atoms are the substance behind the molecules. Then you find that even the atom is not a substance, the subatomic particles are the. So you go through this analysis, but in the process you cross over the visible-invisible boundary. So vasanas are exactly the same thing. You and I think in a certain way because we have a lot of samskaras that are behind. So we have crossed the visible-invisible boundary. So the science also doesn't say, no, molecule is the... Actually, at one time they might have thought that really there is no atom, no nothing. But the more you inquire, you find that the whole order breaks down unless you go all the way up to the end. So it has to be inferred. It's kind of like, on a board, you have some dots, but the people that can analyze, they can extend it and say this is a sinusoidal wave, or this is something, some extension has to be given. So the inference is based on, and of course it is not shushka tarka, it is not dry logic, because the Shastra has said yes, this is correct, that the vasanas in fact are there even though you don't say them. So Swami Maheshananji also pointed out this is the difference between paroksha and aparoksha. So vasanas are paroksha and an understanding is aparoksha, but you have to inquire into it. Yeah, good question.
So certain behavior of ours or certain thoughts that come or certain way that we act could be due to the vasanas that we cannot see, and then sometimes we kind of regret, why did I do this or why did I think that way?
So the Kalpana further says that some of our actions are due to the vasanas and we regret it, and then why did I do it this way? Is it due to the vasanas? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that one of the things that our teachers have said is that you need to be even kinder to yourself than to others. Very important to understand. Don't berate yourself. You can do it if you want to, but it doesn't really do any good. The better thing is to understand why you are what you are. And just be patient and slowly change the direction, knowing that the vasanas are still lurking in the background. And so there, all the teachers now say that this is the essence of nididhyasanam. Is that we may understand this at the conscious level, but our behavior, which is contrary to our understanding, is because it has not seeped down to the subconscious level. So that is changing the direction of the vasanas. And if it's still you make an error of some kind, just be kind to yourself. Just laugh it off. And so on, yeah. Yeah, Satish, sorry, I saw his hand first.
I totally understand that I am a sangha, not involved. This acceptance is a necessary intermediate step.
Correct.
Till such time we accept we are a sangha and we are in intermediary state of accepting.
Correct.
I am not a sangha. In the process of learning, unfolding,
Correct.
we are still in between a sangha and sangha.
Correct.
Then we could say here, yes, I totally understand that I am a sangha, I am sangha with Isvara. I am a sangha with Ishvara.
Yeah.
A sangha with, not a sangha, I am sangha with
So
Ishvara.
you're offering that this may be a way to describe.
Yes.
So Satish Jalota is saying that we were talking about the understanding of aham asangaha, and that so the way for us to accept the personality of the Ishvara is that why if Ishvara is doing everything, what should I be involved in? And the second answer to that was that it helps you in understanding that I am a sangaha. So Satish is offering an intermediate step as I am sangaha with Ishvara. Why don't we do that? So you can do that, Satish. You can do that if you want to. In fact, this is an important thing that we will study in more advanced one. So what happens is, I'll just give you a quick answer, which is not a complete explanation at this point because it requires more study. There are, so in the Bhagavad Gita it says, Dviva nishtha aham proktaha karma yoga karminam jnana yoga jnaninam. So he says there are two paths to understanding. One is karma yoga for people who are not quite there yet, and then the other one is jnana yoga. So in the karma yoga, there is a three-part partnership between myself as a karta, the jagat as a bhokta, what it gives me, and Ishvara as a niyanta, as the who has created this order. In that case, taking myself as a sangaha of Ishvara is appropriate. Okay, so in this one. In Dhyana Yoga, you change this triputi, this triangular, into a binary form. And the binary form is only Atma and Anatma. And Isvara is there as the Atma, and Isvara is also there as a secondary, which is Anatma. So here, there it is not a Sangha with Isvara. So what I would answer to your question is saying that that is appropriate in the intermediate level, but eventually you have to rely upon yourself as the Atma, not even rely on the Ishvara. This is the direction that Vedanta is asking us to take. There was a question, a hand here somewhere was? No.
Yeah, in regards to the vasanas, what are some things that you can do to work on going there?
So the question is, with respect to the vasanas, what can you do some things to change the direction or to stop it? Correct. So what would be said is that our prayers, and the Gayatri mantra is a very important prayer. The Gayatri mantra says, as you know, Bhur Bhuvaswaha Tat Savituhu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. So the essence of the Gayatri mantra is Dhiyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. What it means is, what you can do in changing the direction of the vasana is to pray to Ishvara to get his help, so that your thoughts are less dependent on the vasanas and much more proactive going forward on your own. That's all you can do, because so in this answer, what is said is, as Kalpana was also asking, you know that vasanas or samskaras, by the way, the words samskara and vasanas are used. Vasanas are used in a bad sense, samskaras are used in a good sense. So unwanted tendencies are called vasanas, and wanted good tendencies are called samskaras. So either way, if you are wanting to limit the effect of the vasanas, then the best thing is, first of all, to recognize that that's going to happen, and number two, to ignore it as much as possible and to bring in new thoughts that are helpful to you. Because there's no point in just feeling bad about the past, whatever, because it's going to happen. You can certainly make, I'm very sorry, I should. And in fact, saying that I'm very sorry is a very important part of the vasana dissolution. If you're fighting with someone or something like this, then you fail. You said this to me and I don't like this, and so on and so forth. Just ignore it. Then just say, you know what, I'm sorry I said that to you, or I forgive you. And you just take the help of Ishvara in forging new grounds to yourself, so that your thoughts going forward are a little better than they were the day before. A little better, little better. Pretty soon you'll find that a new personality takes over and you're less concerned about what happened to you in the past. Something like that would be my advice. No more questions? It means time to leave. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Can we announce Sevata?
Ah, sorry. Yeah, why don't you come? You come and please announce.
Hello everyone. Next week we are participating in Sevathon as Aim for Seva. And like Vijayji beautifully explained today, a small child who we give 100 rupees or 500 rupees. There are a lot of such children which Aim for Seva takes care of. And this is an opportunity for us to help them.